Have you ever had that feeling, you know the one, where you just feel completely and utterly stuck? Like the person you are, the one who got you all this way, suddenly just isn't cutting it anymore. Well, today we're diving into a pretty wild idea, that to build the life you really want, you might have to break down the one you have first.
And this quote it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Just let that sink in for a second. Everything that got you here, your habits, your mindset, your skills, it was all perfect for that part of the journey. But now, it might actually be the very wall that's stopping you from getting there. It means growth isn't just a nice to have, it's a flat-out necessity.
So if we know we need to change, why is it so dang hard? Well, a lot of the time, it's because we've gotten comfortable. But here's the thing, that comfort, it's an illusion. It's a passive trap where we stop actively leading our lives and, just start sort of accepting whatever comes our way. And this really breaks it down for us. It's like there are two fundamental ways to go through life. Over on the left, you've got the passive route, just kind of waiting around, hoping things work out. That path, well, it often leads to regret. But on the right, you've got the intentional path. This is where you grab the steering wheel and make things happen. It's pretty clear which one opens you up to more opportunities. And if you needed a little more motivation to get off that passive path, here it is. This is the brutal, honest truth of what happens when you stay stuck in that comfort trap. I mean, we're all afraid of failure, sure, but can you imagine anything worse than the pain of looking back and realizing you never even tried? Okay, so let's say you're ready. You've decided to change. I've got to warn you, though, it's probably not going to feel great at first. In fact, a lot of the time, real, meaningful growth feels exactly like you're falling apart. But the key is to reframe it. This isn't just chaos, it's the necessary demolition before you can build something new and stronger.
And this is exactly why it feels so weird. You're literally in between identities. You're shedding that old version of you, but the new one, it hasn't fully formed yet. You're just stuck in this messy, super uncomfortable middle ground. The biggest mistake is thinking that uncomfortable feeling is a sign you're failing. It's not. It's a sign you're in the middle of the process.
And what's the first question we all ask when we're in that messy middle? This one, right? We're trying, we're putting in the work, but we don't see results, and we just scream, why isn't this working yet? That frustration and doubt just starts to creep in, and we think we're doing it all wrong. But what if we just flip the script? What if we asked a totally different question? Instead of focusing on what's lacking, we ask, what is this phase trying to build in me? Whoa, see how that changes everything? All of a sudden, it's not about failure anymore. It's about construction. It's about finding the purpose in the struggle.
So here's the bottom line. You're not just randomly falling apart. You are being restructured. That's the mindset shift. This isn't chaos. It's a process. A painful one, for sure, but a process with a purpose, to become something more. Okay, so if we're being restructured, how do we make sure we're the architect and not just, the pile of bricks? That's what we're digging into now. We've talked about the why, so let's get into the how, the actual toolkit for building your new self.
And the first tool might actually surprise you. It's solitude. Yeah, being alone. I know, we're so often taught to fear being by ourselves like it's some kind of weakness. But what if it's the total opposite? What if it's actually the ultimate source of freedom? Because it's in those quiet moments, when all the other voices fade away, that you finally hear your own.
So how do you actually build that inner strength? Well, here's a roadmap. And check this out. The most interesting part is that internal motivation, that fire inside, it's not the start, it's the result. You start with just a tiny spark of external motivation. Maybe it's this explainer or a book, just enough to get you to take one small action. Then consistency turns that action into a habit. And it's the progress you see from that habit that finally builds that unstoppable internal fire.
And this is just so important. We get completely paralyzed because we think that first step has to be huge, right? But it doesn't. The first step isn't running a marathon. No way. The first step is just putting on your shoes. It's just driving to the gym. Heck, maybe you just sit in the parking lot the first day. That's a win, because you broke inertia.
And all those tiny steps, all those small wins, they build this. This is the foundation of pretty much everything. Think of it like a ladder. Dreams are just, fluffy clouds. Goals give them a target. Discipline is what helps you start climbing. And consistency, that's what keeps you climbing, day after day. It all comes down to the promises you keep to yourself when no one else is looking.
So when you put all of this together, the tools, the mindset, it all leads to this one powerful idea: ownership. This is about finally realizing that your future isn't something that just happens to you. It's something you build. choice by choice, day by day.
And if you ever think you don't have what it takes, just look at this number, 24. That is the great equalizer. You, me, the most successful people on the planet, we all get the exact same number of hours in a day. The question is never, do I have enough time? The question is, how am I choosing to use it?
We tend to think that change is this one big, monumental event, but it's not. It's the sum of 1,000 tiny choices. Every single morning you wake up at a fork in the road. Hitting the snooze button is a choice. Picking up your phone and scrolling is a choice. Every little thing is a vote for the person you're becoming. So the question is, who are you voting for today?
Now, this one can be a tough pill to swallow, I get it. But it's also maybe the most empowering idea we'll talk about. Taking total responsibility for your life, even the parts that weren't your fault, is how you take back control. Because here's the secret. If you are the source of the problem, that means you are always the source of the solution.
And once you take that control, once you're really in the driver's seat, you eventually have to ask the big questions. Where am I even going? It's not enough to just be busy. You have to be busy with a purpose. Your answers to these questions become the compass that guides all those tiny daily choices. And so, we'll just leave you with this final thought. Time is going to pass. That's a guarantee. You are inevitably on a collision course with a future version of yourself. And the person you meet on that day is being built right now by the choices you're making today. So the only question left to ask is, are you building someone you'll be proud to meet?